Hey guys, this is Jake at Canadian Cutting Edge, and today we have my very first steel will knife. I've been wanting to get a knife from this company for quite a while. I've had them in my carts quite often. I've been playing with them at a few stores that we have, hours drive from where I live, but I've been playing with them. Some people I know have them, and I finally have one. I put down almost $40 US for this, $38.99. This is the Cutjack Mini. So we've got a blade on this one. It's 2.98 inches. That's from the end of the handle here to the tip of the blade, the shortest distance I could find from between the two. So if that's how they measure it where you live, and you have such a law that you can only have knives that are 3 inches long or shorter to carry in public, this is one of those knives that you might want to consider. And I think you want to seriously consider it. Chances are high that you know about this knife. It's been around for at least a year. I don't know, has it been out for 2 years? Sorry, I don't remember exactly. FRN handle scales, D2 steel, made in China by the Steel Will Company. The model number is C22M, and then the color number is 1BL. And they've got several other colors that are available. A brown and a black and a green, or a tan, I should say, not brown. I think it's got black as well. So really good choice here if you're looking for I'm calling this a utilitarian knife, a little bit of do-everything kind of knife. I think that's what they were aiming for with this design. A knife that could just come in handy in almost any situation. We've got, I'm going to call this a full flat grind. Yeah, I know, it's not. It's a saber grind, but it is so high up that it's functional equivalent of a full flat grind. So that's why I'm using that. We've got a forward choil. And so people with large hands, mine just barely extra large. Sometimes I have to buy gloves that are extra large, sometimes large. So I'm right on that line. This fits in my hand just perfectly. There's still room for a little bit larger hand there. That's between 10 and 11 in the European glove sizes for men. So this is a knife that can come in very, very handy. And I am loving this thing. I've had it for a week and a half. Usually I like to carry my knives for at least 2 weeks. I know I carry a lot of knives. I'm usually, in the course of one day, I've carried about 6 knives. I carry one for a few hours and another one for a few hours and stuff, and whatever comes around. I take them out and I'm playing with them. Whenever I'm not doing something, I'm playing with them or I'm testing them, cutting things. I go through so much rope. I just practice cutting paper, all kinds of stuff, cardboard. I do test my knives. I'm not one of those reviewers that just buys a knife, takes it out of the package and says, here's the review of, that's not me. I'm not saying something negative about the guys that do that. I'm just saying my style is to get familiar with the knife. I actually use it. And that means, I don't have another job. So my day is to play with knives. I have a disability that stops me from earning some other kind of employment. I spend an awful lot of my day just in downtime because of my chronic pain. I have to lay down for half an hour, several times a day. I'm not getting into my story about my life. I'm just saying, I really get to know the knife before I do the review. And this knife has gotten to know me. No, I don't mean I cut myself. I mean, I've carried it more in the last week and a half than most knives that I carry. I've just been enjoying it that much. And so let's do the full review of this thing and talk about all the particulars coming at you right now. So hopefully this is going to focus. My camera's acting up. It's over a year old. I use a camera that's in a cell phone, and I think the cell phone itself is having trouble because I dropped it a few times. So my own fault. I don't blame the cell phone itself. GearBest is sending me another one, so that's going to be a good thing. But what I've done right now is I've jury-rigged some lighting a little bit differently, and I've put this wood down here because I usually have a blue background, so I want this blue to show up. So I've got some shadows, as you can see right here, quite sharp but hopefully you'll be able to see what the knife looks like quite well with the lighting the way I have it right here. This knife is awesome. I'm going to put this knife in the list, the short list of the choices that I'm going to give whichever one of my Patreon supporters, wins the draw at the end of April. Every month I do a draw for my Patreon supporters. They get to win one of the knives I reviewed that month. And I make sure that it's at least one of the mid-grade knives that I've reviewed that month. And this thing is, $39 US is how much it cost. So it's sort of the mid-level. It's not the most expensive I reviewed, because you've seen just a couple days ago, I had $160. And I've had a few that, $12, $13. This is by Steel Will, and there's their branding. I like that they used a thin font for that, but I really don't like having the name that big on a blade, especially up on the bevel. I wish they would have made it nice and small and put it right there on the flat. I would have preferred that. And then on the other side, it's the same issue. I don't really like that so much. Like where they put the D2, that's kind of nice. Why don't you put the Cutjack C22M up there as well? That would have been even better. But that's almost the biggest negative, maybe is the biggest negative that I have with this knife. There's a lot of good stuff here. We've got D2 steel, which is really good. That's a Rockwell hardness around 58, 59, depending on who's doing the hardening, sometimes more, sometimes a little bit less. Steel Will isn't telling us what Rockwell they've got on this, but that's not bad. The model, they're calling this the Cutjack Mini. There's a larger version of the Cutjack. I wanted to get one that was, within that 3-inch law that some people have to deal with, just because I wanted something more, something small, something that somebody could carry in their lunch kit or whatever. A lot of guys tend to do that. They like to cut their apples fresh and stuff. Of course, if you're going to cut your apple, it's much better doing it fresh. I'm one of those guys. I just take my apple and I wipe it off and I just chomp right down. But some people like to cut up their stuff. We've got a knife that's perfect for that kind of scenario. One of the things that's really good about it is the color. So that helps it look sort of less, what's the word? Less tactical, less, offensive, if you will. Less like it's a weapon, and more like it's, a tool, that a cooking utensil maybe. They could have done that with G10 though, instead of FRN. FRN's not bad. It helps keep the knife light. FRN stands for fiber reinforced nylon. So that's the handle here. And this backspacer here is FRN as well. And that's really nice. One of the things I really like about this backspacer is that they made the hole here for the lanyard sort of inset, so that if you do put a lanyard on here, it's going to tie up and it's not going to get bulky. If there's a hole right through here, it would have to get bulky around there to get out. And here it's nice and narrow. That's a good thing. The jimping is perfect for multiple different grips. So if you do a back grip, your hand comes around like this and it holds very, very well. You can even get your pinky up there on that forward grip and grip it that way. And a reverse grip, no, not with this knife. It's just not going to work. But your regular reverse grip, either with or without that forward choil, is a good job. Pinch grips work very well. Again, for if you're going to do that kind of cooking stuff. Your regular forward choil grip in your thumb up on the jimping here for a nice, sturdy, strong working, a long-term cutting session. That grip is very comfortable for that. And if you need a little more reach, this grip works as well. Your pinky, if your hands are my size, is not going to be quite on there, but it grips on quite well. What else do we have here that's cool? All the screws are Torx, and they're all done well. We've got a pocket clip that is right or left side tip up. Very good pocket clip. The only negative about this pocket clip is I would have preferred one that was, curled over, so it was a really deep carry, because this is not a very deep carry. Let's see what it looks like in a pocket. So it goes into a pocket very well. Notice how, how it's shaped like that. It just sort of grabs the pocket, the edge, and it just works very well to go in. It's just a great pocket clip shape. And then you've got about, well, a little over not half an inch, about a third of an inch, over a quarter of an inch sticking out. Probably, no, that's probably closer to half an inch. You got about half an inch sticking out there, about 1.5 centimeters sticking out of your pocket. And it's not too bad. The blue and the black sort of blend in, but you do have the satin of the pocket clip showing off that you're carrying something. But it holds very well. And again, you've got the right and left option. It's very good. You've got some weird things with this knife, some unique kind of stuff. One of them is you've got an internal stop pin for when you open the knife, and you can see it right. Oh, I didn't bring a pen along, but it's lined up with my fingernail right there. You see the steel going right across, right there? So that's the stop pin that's internal, so that when you deploy the blade, the inside hits that stop pin and it stops. Now, what they usually do is they do the same kind of thing on the inside to close the knife. This one uses this pin back here to interface with where my thumbnail is right now, the inside of this forward choil, to come to a stop. And so it comes up, you see it coming up, and it makes contact right there. We've got liners on the inside, and they're inset liners. That's really good. And they're skeletonized a little bit. That's another good thing. I really like that. Everything's nicely rounded and chamfered. Feels very good in the hand. Nothing super aggressive. Some nice jimping on the thumb riser right there. A little bit of jimping on the flipper tab right at the top. So it works for just using the push down method. So you just bear down on it until it gives way and flies open. Or you can use a light switch method where you put your finger in front and pull back, and that makes the blade fly out as well. We've got 2 nice phosphor bronze washers in here, and that helps it to deploy very well. So I think the time has come to show you the inside of the knife. So take a look at these pictures. There, I think I've covered all the details of this knife. So now let's talk about the specs, the measurements of all this thing. The cutting edge is 6.8 centimeters, 2.68 inches. Blade length, so the tip to the handle right there, 7.57 centimeters, 2.98 inches. The blade thickness is 2.85 millimeters. That's 0.1125 inches. The blade depth, that's from the spine to the back, is 2.64 centimeters, 1.04 inches. The thickness of the edge behind the grind, I didn't talk about the grind, I'll do that in just a minute, is 0.46 millimeters. So it's very nice and thin at the edge. That's what helps this thing slice like a miracle. That's 0.018 of an inch. So very thin behind the grind, and that, slope, the blade not being super thick to start with. You've got a nice gradual angle, and it slices like you're in heaven. Again, it's a very good knife for that. The handle now. Handle length, 10.34 centimeters. That's 4.07 inches. The grip area in here is 8 centimeters, 3.15 inches. The handle thickness, not counting the pocket clip, is 1.18 centimeters, 0.466 inches. And the handle depth, that's this dimension right here, 2.78 centimeters, 1.09 inches. The total length of this knife, all included when the blade is deployed, is 7 inches, 17.78 centimeters. It weighs 85 grams. That's 3.05 ounces, so 3 ounces. So we've got a 3-ounce knife hitting the 3-inch limit, very thin, high-quality steel. It's not premium steel, but it's a high-quality steel, or mid-grade at least steel, and handles that are very comfortable. Look at the texture of this. Very nice and grippy because of that. And it just feels good, looks good, works good, performs well. How much do you spend on this thing? Well, I bought mine at Amazon.com. That's the U.S. side, $38.99. Other stores like Knife Center, Blade HQ, a whole slew of them are the exact same price. So if you want to buy one of these, can I ask you to use my Amazon link? That way I get a tiny commission out of the deal, and you're not spending a penny extra, but you're helping me out. So if you're from the United States, or if you're a Canadian that shops in the US, Amazon.com is really good. In Canada, Amazon.ca is not so good a deal. That is $87.43, whereas Blades Canada is like $13 less, and the shipping's less. The shipping is less at Blades Canada as well. It's $75 at Blades Canada, $74.99. So here we've got this great knife. Let's demonstrate a little bit of cutting. We've got the factory edge on here. All I've done is strop it once. Push cut, I'm leaving it at the same spot all the way along, and that's much harder to do than, slicing through like this. Just pushing along at one spot. Nice clean cut. It just cuts very, very well. And it can do great with some fruit. Unfortunately, I don't have an apple handy, but when I did cut an apple earlier this week, it just cut right through. It didn't cause it to break. You know how most knives, most times when you're cutting an apple, it cuts through like 2/3 of the way and then just sort of breaks at the last part. No, this sliced all the way through. Very, very nice. We've got some Manila rope here from Manila. Well, I don't know. It's from the Philippines. Cut right through, no problem. That was, again, just a push cut, not a slicing cut. And that's harder to do. Nice clean cut there. It's a great knife. I like the degree of belly you've got here. I was going to talk about the grind. The grind is the other negative on this knife. This is hand ground, and they did a great job on 90% of the grind. Getting close to the tip of the blade, and hopefully you can see it in my close-up shot. That they ground quite a bit more on this side than they did on this side. And I'm pretending my thumbnail is the grinding stone. So this side they ground just a little bit, and then on this side they ground quite a bit. And so it's a little bit off near the tip. So when I go to sharpen this knife, I'm going to try to bring it back to the center for this last, 1/4 of an inch, 3/8 of an inch right here, where they just went off a little bit. That's not a big deal at all. I'm being nitpicky now, but you have to be nitpicky when you've got a knife that is this nice. There's just, how are you going to find problems? There aren't major problems. So you have to pick on the little things. You got a nice swedge across the top here. Jimping's really great. Feels good in the hand, looks good. There's a multiple colors. I'm starting to repeat myself. I just want to thank you guys for watching this review video. Thanks for subscribing to my channel, hitting that thumbs up, making a comment, asking a question. Being Patreon supporters really helps me out an awful lot. So if you want to consider any of those things, I do have a Facebook page, and I do often put some information on there. I don't use it quite as much as I should, but I do use it. And I've got Instagram. And unfortunately, I'm not very good at Instagram, and I really wish they had a way to, access Instagram and post stuff easily from a computer. But no, you have to use a mobile device to do it easily. But I'll be posting a picture of this knife on my Instagram even before the video goes up, or maybe just after, I don't know. But if you're looking for a knife, Steel Wheel is a good manufacturer. I've played with a lot of their knives. I'm hoping to get some of their fixed blades as well in the future. And I kind of hope that one of the Patreon supporters does not choose this, whoever wins. But if they do, hey, I would be very, very happy for them to win a really nice knife. And if you've got $40 US laying around that you want to put towards a knife, this is not a bad choice. And if you've got, another $20, $30 more than that, you can get the bigger full-size version if you're allowed to carry that around. Well, even if you're not allowed to carry it around, I'm not telling you what you need to buy. I'm not going to be the authorities to tell on you or anything, but if you want something bigger, the C22, the full-size one, is a really good knife as well. Thanks for watching. Remember, guys, always cut towards your chum, not your thumb.